To start off at the top, we have a briefing from, thank you, there we are going live. Let's do the announcement. This is the meeting of the Baltimore County House Delegation on March 3rd. It's 9 a.m. And to begin our meeting today, we are going to have a briefing from Christian Thomas, who is working with the Ad Hoc Committee on Special Projects to create a web page and media presence on social media. Christian, are you here?
I am. Good morning, everyone.
Excellent, Christian. Good to see you. Justin, if you make sure that Christian has sharing privileges, I think he's going to show us a few things for about 10 minutes or so here.
Take that. Yep. Sounds good. Thank you, Delegate Ebersol, for the introduction, and good morning, everyone. I hope you're having a great legislative session. As Delegate Ebersol said, I've been working with the Ad Hoc Special Projects Committee to increase social media engagement with the delegation and work on some really cool projects. So I'm excited to be finally presenting them all to you today. One of the most important reasons that I think we need to increase social media engagement between the delegation and constituents is really just to cultivate a greater sense of community between the delegation and the constituents of Baltimore County. With that in mind, Delegate Jackson and the Ad Hoc Committee and I have been creating a new Instagram page for the entire delegation, as well as a Twitter, and making some updates to the Facebook page with a number of projects that go along with that. So I'm going to present what we've been working on with the Instagram first and share my screen real quick. Let me just do that. Okay, awesome. So as you can see on my screen, we have a brand new Instagram account for the Baltimore County delegation. The social media handle is @BaltCoDel. Right now, we're still increasing the following. So there's about 76 followers on the social media account. It is live as of early last week or mid last week. And really something I've been working on is just increasing the amount of social media following so that we can get more people engaged. We started off with a post that's just talking about what the Baltimore County delegation is, what districts are represented by you all as delegates of Baltimore County delegation, what those districts look like, the purpose of the delegation itself, leadership, and how to stay contacted. And then just like every other social media account, we've been making posts about just what the delegation has been up to. So we just made this beautiful, we add this beautiful photo of you all from the group photo of the delegation. And then one thing that we've started working on is creating a delegate spotlight series. So we've actually created a Google form for all of you delegates to fill out that just gives you an opportunity to directly connect with the people that are following this account and each other, and just spotlight some of the work you're doing and who you are as a delegate for the community. So we started off with Delegate Jackson, went over some basic information that he's the vice chair of this delegation, he's from District 8, the districts that he represents and what those communities are, his top 3 priorities this legislative session, and then a fun fact about him as a person. So a fun fact about Carl. And then a little quote that he had for everyone, as well as ways that you can stay in touch with Delegate Jackson and stay connected with him via social media. And so there's actually one of the things I'd like for all of you to do after this meeting is fill out that Google form, and Justin will send it out to you all so that you can be spotlighted as well, and your information can be shared with the social media account overall. And so the first purpose is for this social media account is just to engage the constituents and keep them updated on what's happening and what's going on. The second is to provide you all a spotlight to be more visible for the people of Baltimore County. And the third is to just keep everyone updated about when these meetings are being held and what's actually happening during these meetings. So yesterday we made a post about today's meeting, March 3rd at 9 a.m. And we just, I added some information about the agenda, the speakers that will be coming in today, including myself, some of the bills that we voted on today, and ways to actually directly tune into this live stream and learn more information. So right there, that's the Instagram account. I would encourage you all to, like I said before, 1, fill out that delegate spotlight form that Justin will be sending out, and 2, to follow this account. Follow the @BaltCoDel on your personal Instagram account, and share some of these posts through the story features or through other features, which I'm glad to help out with explaining how that might work if you don't have that much experience. And this is a great way just to get the word out. This account is already following all of you delegates on Instagram. If you're already on Instagram, I went through and found you all. And so you can just tune in and comment, interact with the posts so that there are more people that are able to, so that they're getting more attention and really serving as a platform to keep all of your constituents engaged with you all. So that's the Instagram. Next, we have the Twitter account that we've created, which again has a similar, the following is just getting started. So the Twitter following is around 26 followers right now, and which is going to continue to increase as time goes on. Again, we started off with very similar things, a post about what the delegation is, the group picture of you all, the first delegate spotlight, as well as information about the upcoming meeting. And so all of that's kind of just repeated on the Twitter account. And again, I'd encourage you all to follow that at BCO as well. And the last social media platform that we've been working on is a Facebook account, which already existed for the delegation. But one of our goals is to just enhance the amount of engagement, encourage more people to tune in and to participate. And so Justin has been doing an incredible job already keeping the following, already keeping constituents updated on upcoming events and that kind of stuff on the Facebook account, but that will just be enhanced. And with the Spotlight series, continue to grow and continue to be a way to connect more with the community. So that's what we've been working on in the ad hoc committee with regard to social media. Like I said, there are 3 action items that I have for all of you in this call today to continue to increase engagement with this. 1 is to fill out that delegate spotlight form. 2 is to follow this account with your personal social media accounts and your official social media accounts to increase engagement. And 3, if you have any photos of members of the delegation together congregating and participating in community events or hanging out in the office space out over in Annapolis, and you want to share that on the social media account, please send those over to Justin and they can be featured just as this beautiful group photo of you all is featured there. So that's the end of my official presentation. Are there any questions?
Thank you, Christian. Looks great. I do see a question. Mike, I do have one. Certainly, while we were on the phone, I followed each of these. So, I mean, while we were online here, I just turned to my phone. I've been able, it's very easy to do, obviously, and easy to look up. So well done. You mentioned the Google Doc for us to fill out information. Has that, either you or Justin, has that been mailed out to the members yet for them to fill out? Do we know?
It has not been mailed out yet.
Okay, so look for it in your mailboxes and fill it out post haste so that we can kind of scroll around and get different delegates spotlighted. We'll try to get everybody in before the end of session. I think that'd be a cool idea for us to do. So we'll try to get them all through. Delegate Ruth, I see you have a question also.
Delegate Ruth,
helps if I unmute. Thank you so much, Mr. Chair. First, Christian, I just want to thank you for this because this is amazing. You know, I don't have words to say how great this looks, and really appreciate your work on this. I just wanted to check that the changes were made to the form regarding great. Some of that's information that we can reuse also for the website. So thank you.
Of course. Yes, of course.
Mr. Vice Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yes, so we are very proud of the work that Christian has done for us, working in partnership with the ad hoc committee. I just wanted to remind members that the success of these social media platforms depends on your participation. You know what I mean? So we really want to spotlight everyone. So please fill out the form that's going to be sent out. And also we'll be sending out some guidelines for some posts that we would like to share on the platforms. If you're, and we're going to send out some directions about tagging the platform so that it'll just be as easy as Justin going in and Christian going in and accepting them, and then they'll automatically post on those platforms. So we want everybody engaged. We want everyone engaged. And I just want to reiterate that the success of these social media platforms depend on all the members' participation. So thank you, Mr. Chair.
Well done. And I'm Christian, you're probably focusing on us, but some folks, we don't encourage too many comments in the chat because if they're business, people can't see them, but they're just, there are chats there complimenting you right now. So everybody seems quite pleased with the product at this point, and we'll move forward with that. Thank you so much. Christian is actually the the intern in our office, but we're happy to lend him out for this work. He's doing great work with it. And he, of course, testified on bills in front of our committee last year. We're glad to have him still around. So there you go. Anything else on that one? Good. Thank you so much, Christian. You're welcome to hang out if you feel like it, but you're dismissed if you have other business you need to take care of. Next, we have the superintendent of schools who's going to come and give us a presentation and be available for a few questions at the end. Mr. Superintendent, are you there? Mr. Williams, Dr. Williams.
Yes, good morning, everyone. Happy Friday, Daryl Williams.
Good morning, kind sir.
It is truly a pleasure to be in front of you all virtually. I want to thank you this opportunity to just provide some updates and to entertain any questions afterwards. I do want to recognize, I believe I have our Deputy Superintendent, Miriam Yarborough, Dr. Miriam Yarborough, our Chief of Staff, Mildred Charlie Green, and our Government Liaison, Mr. Tony Bazemore, joining us this morning. So I promise you this is a brief presentation because we want to open up for any questions or comments of our delegation. So good morning, everyone. I will ask Ms. Stifler if she could share the screen. Thank you, Ms. Stifler. If you advance to the next slide, please. I want to give just an overview. In the midst of the time of change, the spotlight remains on our students, and I wanted to take a quick moment to highlight a few demographic shifts. And as you can see, we have grown exponentially in terms of our students who are eligible for free and reduced meal programs, likely related to the pandemic associated economic disruptions and a new U.S. Department of Agriculture pilot program. We are approximately 111,000 students, and we are seeing about 66.4% of our students are eligible for free and reduced meals. Also, next slide. I also want to share a little bit about certain student groups. Further examination of our data reveals that our students receiving special ed services saw rapid growth between 2015 and 2020. So although the number of students receiving special ed services declined with overall enrollment during the pandemic, in FY23, that population has grown. And then on the right, our population of English language learners has increased by 7.7% in the past year, indicating that we will continue to provide the necessary resources and supports for our English language learners to ensure equitable access to all programming. So in order to meet the academic needs of our students, we're working to create the climate and conditions for success. The remainder of the updates before we take questions will touch on human resources, teaching and learning, and operations. Next slide, please. So as we know, this has been a challenge for all systems across the nation in terms of filling vacancies. However, the hard work of our human resources and our partners across the division collaborated and provided creative and innovative ways of recruiting and looking at different tools and location and resulting in additional hiring this summer and throughout the school year. Traditionally, years ago, one would think that hiring would only take place around the spring. It has become a year-long process. So to date, we've hired additional 97 staff for transportation to address some of those gaps in transportation. Nearly 1,100 teachers were hired this school year, followed by 209.5 paraeducators, and we have utilized 615 long-term subs. This work continues even now, again, as I shared, is a year-long process, and we continue to find new and better ways to engage potential employees. Matter of fact, we have a few of our staffers and administrators at a college fair recruiting as we speak. So to meet the needs of our system and based on the feedback from Team BCPS, we are bringing back by popular demand the all-system job fair to be held at the Timonium Fairgrounds in March. All schools will be represented. And it is a one-stop shop. We e-verify, we do the fingerprinting, all of that at that job fair. So we appreciate the feedback of our community and the partnership with county government. Both have been instrumental in our hiring efforts. Next slide. So this slide, I want to just highlight a safe and supportive environments. Again, that's a priority for us. On December 2nd, we held an in-person community conversation on middle school safety. Staff also answered questions from the community. The video is actually posted on our BCPS webpage. The community conversation was a part of ongoing efforts to engage Team BCPS in conversation on school safety. Attendees were encouraged to continue to work directly with their school leadership teams to collaborate on positive solutions for their school communities. Next steps including meeting with our multi-stakeholder advisory council to review semester 1 data and provide actionable feedback as we move forward. Additionally, we are extending our safety assistance initiative with our promise for an elementary school cluster model. Currently, staff assistants are only in secondary schools. We have already collected feedback from our principals on the success of safety assistance this year in secondary schools. The feedback overwhelmingly states that they have had a positive impact on our school climate and they need them next year. I met with Captain Delp, Chief Delp and Captain Buckingham. We have regular meetings with our police and the feedback from them was well received and positive about our safety assistance. One of our middle school principals wrote to us and said, our safety assistants have really made a difference in my building. They have developed relationship with our students to assist in keeping our building safe. Having the safety assistants has allowed for the administration to get back into classrooms because we have support in the hallways. Not having them next year would take us a step back in creating a safe and supportive environment in our schools. Next slide. Last month, the Maryland State Department of Education released final data from the spring of 2022 administration of the Maryland Comprehensive Assessment Program, or MCAT, in English Language Arts and Mathematics. Clearly, we have work to do. We are continuing to focus on the needs of our students. Primarily, we want to look at the teaching and the instruction part, as well as supporting our students as they prepare for this upcoming MCAT. But we saw some grades increase in English Language Art, but there's still more work to be done, particularly with our mathematics. Students across the state are struggling to recover to pre-pandemic levels of performance in our mathematics. So it is clear that we have to do something differently. So as I shared with our community, we are committed to both short and long-term goals. So short-term, we have reevaluated our pacing guides with assessment topics to ensure our students have an opportunity to learn and master the standards prior to the assessment. Our central office will cluster schools according to performance outcomes and provide differentiated support with pacing and professional learning to create short-term action plans. And our schools continue to offer additional support for our students, such as targeted tutoring support and in-class remediation. Long-term, We're identifying students who need structured summer program support to improve academic and strongly recommend attendance to our families. We will review our English language arts and mathematics curriculum guides and district assessments and revise them as needed to provide students with multiple opportunities for mastery and feedback. And we have convened an English language arts and math stakeholder group for feedback and needed changes to our program and offering. And so more work will continue throughout this semester, summer, and all next year. Want to give an update regarding our transportation. The Office of Transportation, in collaboration with the Office of Communication, launched a transportation status webpage in December. This webpage lists the Baltimore County Public School buses with a substitution and or delay for, to, and from morning and afternoon school services trips. Buses appear in the chart on the webpage sorted by schools. Bus changes or any of delays are accurate at the time this information is posted on the webpage and are subject to change due to emergent issues during services. Bus changes and delays that occur once the information is posted to the website are communicated with schools as they become available. But we're pleased that we have piloted this mobile and web-based application. The pilot update, approximately 40 schools in the Southeast area, the ability to receive real-time estimated time of arrival of school buses to designated bus stops and location. And the staff will use the data to review planned versus actual bus routing to improve efficiencies and monitor safety. The next steps, contract was approved by the Board of Education in February. And if our budget is approved, we'll have full implementation for FY23-24. Finally, we are pleased to announce the opening of our Employee and Retiree Customer Service Center on the Greenwood campus to respond daily to employee and retiree needs. So this walk-in or email or phone support will be provided Mondays through Fridays with 2 evenings per week. Our staff, the center is staffed with 12 full-time customer service representatives, 4 to 6 part-time customer service representatives, and 1 supervisor to staff an on-site customer service center to respond to the employee and retiree needs. This came out of our efficiency review and actually years prior about the need to have this one-on-one additional support to our employees and retirees. So we're pleased that we were able to open our new employee and retiree customer service center back in February. And then this past week, the adopted FY24 budget focuses on strengthening our course and shaping our future. It is centered around the core purpose of increasing achievement for all students in a variety of pathways to prepare our students for college and careers. We know that delivering on this commitment means prioritizing investment in the most critical components now to ensure success moving forward. Specifically, the FY24 operating budget request begins with the blueprint for Maryland's future implementation and funding. Modest increase in ongoing revenue from the county, but it also includes more than $38 million in cost reductions to help fund the FY23, this current year, compensation enhancement that encompasses additional central office management savings. In addition, this budget includes compensation increases and inflationary increases of over $20 million. So with that, I want to thank you for this time to provide a quick update to the delegation and the community on the ongoing work in BCPS. At this time, the team and I are available for questions from the delegation.
Well, thank you so much, Mr. Superintendent. We appreciate the presentation. I see a handful of hands up. We got a bunch. And so we'll ask the questions to remain on point, and you don't have to be too expansive, but answer the question fully. Let's take care of people here. Delegate Ruth.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And thank you so much, Dr. Williams, for all your work. Really appreciate it. And thank you for the safety part. I know that's a big issue. School safety is a big issue for my constituents, but I did also want to make sure that there are guardrails in place to ensure that there's not disparate impact against Black students, students of color, and students with disabilities who we know are often disparately impacted by these kinds of safety measures.
Yes, so I will just say that's the beauty of these safety assistants. Many of them have already had relationships with the school. They may have coached, they may have volunteered. And so that's the point, to have this additional resource for our students and to provide that kind of support. And we'll continue to monitor the numbers and the data to see if there's something else that we can do. I did use ESSER funds to actually fund the safety assistance. So we'll be embedding this work in our future budgets because what we're hearing, this is an additional support for our students. In addition, we've always looked at our counseling ratio, our social workers, et cetera. But we continue to watch those numbers just to make sure there's not a disproportionate number of students being impacted. Thank you.
Thank you. And just a quick follow-up, is there any kind of implicit bias training?
Oh, yes. Yes. Okay. So we kind of mirror what the police officers get, but we also we work collaboratively with our equity office to make sure that folks have some of the skills and resources. And again, many of them have worked in various positions that they have some of that training. So that's an additional bonus in terms of their own background and what they've done prior to being in these positions.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Delegate Naraki, a question.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Dr. Williams, thank you for the presentation. Just wanted to speak briefly with you about the middle school redistricting process that is going on right now. My seatmate, Delegate Schlega, and I, and our colleagues from District 8 have also been getting a ton of questions about parents being moved from Perry Hall Middle School to Pine Grove Middle School. We've also got students in our district in kind of the Loch Raven area changing middle schools. We've got students up in the northern part of our district also changing middle schools there. So I guess my main question is, could you tell me why parents that are elementary school parents were not included in the process here, in this evaluation process? It would seem logical to me that they should have a say in this process, just like middle school parents should as well.
So based on our policy and rule, we look at the catchment area that will be impacted, and then those families that will have some role, either their child is entering or their child is currently in that particular grade area would be impacted. But I will also just bring to your attention, a part of our timeline, we do have 2 public information sessions, one coming up next Wednesday and the following on the 9th. And then all of this will be presented to the board for their consideration, and then another public hearing, and then a final decision. So yes, I'm aware that there's some questions, but there's opportunity to gather those questions or the feedback, and then for the board to be well informed about what's happening and the recommendation and what the board wants to do afterwards, after the public hearing. So again, we have followed this process for many of our boundary studies, and we open it up to the public for some feedback, and we make a recommendation, but ultimately the board will make a decision. I believe that final decision will be in June. So there's still some time to gather feedback from the community.
So will that feedback be weighted in the same way from parents that participate in these public meetings or offer feedback, or is there a different weight given to members of the commission itself versus the feedback that is given either at the public meetings and things like that?
I think it will be considered. That's why we have the public information. Again, the committee has been working really hard. They have completed 4 sessions already, representing the different communities that you described. So particularly a weight, I wouldn't say there's a weight. I can go back and look at the actual policy, but I do know that we open it up for public information, and all of that is gathered and presented to the board for the board to make a decision. We will make a recommendation based on all of the work that we have done with our boundary committee. We'll make a recommendation to the board, and then ultimately the board will make a decision, final decision.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Since it might have a similar bent, let's go to Delegate Schlega and see if she has a question along that line.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, Dr. Williams, for being here and sharing the information about the school system. And also thank you for your answer to our letter. Delegate Rocky and I sent you all a letter in response to the really troubling test scores that were released a couple weeks ago. And, you know, we were really happy with your answers to our questions, with the exception of one. And I don't know if you can answer it now, but if you could potentially share the answer with all of us at a later point. I don't want to, you know, assume that you have all the answers every second. So we're concerned about persistently failing schools, and what will be done. Are there guidelines that are established for schools that don't improve? So we had 8 schools that scored 0 on the math. They had 0 kids that were proficient in math. Every year that we delay getting help is a year that these students cannot wait. As you know, especially, you know, I'm a teacher with a degree in elementary ed. We know the importance of early child and elementary school education and ensuring that our kids are up to grade level, exceeding that, you know, and that they're really getting a high quality education. So what, if anything, is the school system doing in the way of policies where if these 8 schools and other schools that are, you know, have very troubling matrices, what is going to be done if they don't improve?
So thank you for that question. That would require a longer response, but I will just say there are a couple of things I'll just would highlight. We look at multiple data points. You know, this is a data point in time, and that was done in the spring, and the results were just released in January. And so what we have to do and constantly do within our school buildings is looking at how we're programming for those students with the remaining months that we have now, and then what we do in the future. So even what we have looked at is that building block. If they're in 3rd grade and this is what they have produced, this is what we're going to look at for 4th grade. So we want to build that trajectory. But also the state requires us to look at these schools differently and how we develop our school progress plan. So MSDE has been working with all the different local systems to say, here's the groups of kids, and it's just not necessarily on that one data point, it's also looking at growth. So I know you're familiar with the report card, and that's a whole nother conversation, but we're looking at what additional supports can we provide and target it, looking at how we staff, looking at how we build the capacity, looking at what we do with groups of students to build their skill set in math and English language art. But I can go on and on with that, but there is targeted support that we have to provide, and we have to report that back to Maryland State Department of Education. You may have heard it called TSI or CSI, but I won't go into those categories. But there's additional things that we have to do. And to your point, we are now looking at being creative. We're fortunate to add additional time to our schedule, knowing that we needed more time in our school day. We've added additional extended day opportunities for students And our virtual learning program, we use a part of that to help augment what schools couldn't provide that our virtual learning program could. So there's a variety of things, but I'll be happy to follow up in a little bit more detail about those persistent schools that are not kind of meeting that benchmark around the state assessment.
Well, thank you. I appreciate all the efforts that you all are making. They sound really positive and like they should have the outcome we're looking for. But, you know, we need to ensure our families and the students that go to the schools that aren't doing well, you know, if the school doesn't improve, what will the school system do to make sure that, you know, the needs of the students there are met? Thank you so much.
Thanks, Delegate Shalega. All right, Delegate Pasteur.
Thank you, Chair Eberstall. Dr. Williams, I don't want a real answer right now because I want some things that are more specific. So I would appreciate, because I know you have people who are taking notes, if they would take notes and then send answers to the questions that I have. And good morning to all of you, and thank you for being here. All right, first, following Delegate Shalega talking about success, in your presentation, you talked about tutoring, monitoring, successes, and going to summer school. I'd like to know, for example, who are the children who will be going to summer school? What kinds of services are they going to get specifically? What is your need base for making a decision who's going there? When you talk about tutoring, what does that mean? If it means outside people, what kinds of staff development will they get so that they will be tutoring in alignment with what the curriculum is? Same for monitoring. Who will be doing that monitoring? How from possibly Dr. Yarbo, you know, I'm having a hard time with that because I have my own nicknames, but Dr. Yarbo, who will be doing that? What kind of training will they have? And how will those that monitoring work with moving people inside of the schools who are going to be implementing them? I had a meeting this week with a number of people from ESPBC. Are you still working on growing your own? You've hired more, 209.5. Paris, are we still doing that growing your own? Excellent. What's curriculum and instruction doing in terms of the math? Any new programs? What are the new programs? What are for math and for reading? And under the growth in special ed, growth for free and reduce, and growth in ESOL, how does that shake out in terms of the 1,081.6 teachers that were hired? Where are those people going, and what are we doing in terms of matching the needs with the teachers that we have? And what does that look like in terms of our relationships with the colleges, particularly our historic Black colleges and universities and clusters? Are you using the cluster mode in terms of trying to fix what is going on in our schools? Because we know if there are elementary schools that are not performing at the level we would like, they carry some of those same skills or lack thereof to the middle school, then to the high school. So what is happening in terms of clusters to meet that? So I just to see your face, I threw it out. I know someone took notes. I would like to see those answers because you can't give that to us in a few minutes. So
no, that's true. And Dr.
Absolutely.
True. But if you want to give a brief response, just to give an indication, but I think Delegate Pasteur would love to engage in
we'll be happy to
more
respond.
No, I don't want to
discussion.
engage. I want to see it on paper.
We're
Love
happy
you.
to respond. We're happy to respond. We can respond to those questions because that's the work.
I
That's
know
the
you
work we're
can.
doing.
I know
Yeah,
you can.
yeah,
Thank
yeah.
you.
All right. Okay. That's done. Okay. I think Delegate Pastor is the idea that you're going to get responses is adequate for you right now. That's good.
No, that's it. That's what I asked.
Okay,
I just
excellent.
want a written
Wanted to be sure.
response, and I'm going to share it with the delegation.
Right. I just want to be sure, and I hope you will. And I just want to be sure that that I was clear. And thank you, Dr. Williams, for
Sure.
being willing to respond to those. Delegate McCaskill.
Good morning, delegation family, and good morning to you, Dr. Williams. It's a pleasure to see you. Mine's too probably would like to, I'll probably have to do a follow-up later, or maybe I can get with Mr. Tony Bazemore. But my most immediate question is, so I have a daycare in Baltimore County, and quite a few of my children utilize the transportation system. We still are finding, even now in March, that we're still having some transportation issues. So I'm curious, and it's probably already done, but when there's a complaint from a parent, or the school, are you all made aware of it, or does it go directly to the personnel of the transportation company? Because our specific things are, we still having, latenesses or no arrival. We're still having, which is a huge issue. The fortunate thing is we have folks and permission from parents to do transportation if needed. But then also we have children who are still being taken to incorrect homes and daycares, and we have to call and find them at times, or parents are wondering where the children are. We have to do some investigating. And so I'm just curious, do you all get that pool of concerns from families, or does it go directly to the busing personnel, whoever the third parties are?
So thank you for that. This has been our focus based on feedback that we've received. I'm going to ask Dr. Yarbrough just to give a brief response to your question. Dr. Yarbrough.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you for your question. I would say it depends. There are some complaints or concerns that come to us. They're elevated to us, but there are some that go immediately to the Department of Transportation using the email and the phone number. We review those reports weekly to find out if there are any trends. I would say to you that as a follow-up to this call, I will make sure that my information is forwarded to you. So if you have any trends, we can do the investigation, because we do have GPS and we can isolate the specific concerns and come up with a plan if there is a pattern of inconsistencies with service that we need to address, and we'll address those swiftly.
Perfectly. I love that. Thank you. And this one, I know the note taker will have to follow back up with me, but this is just to coincide with keeping in mind the blueprint, keeping in mind the priority of retaining and recruiting of qualified workforce when it comes to education. So eventually, hopefully in the next month, we'll have some sit down time with our new superintendent for childcare, to have the pleasure with that. But I'm thinking, I know there are some focus areas that Baltimore County has released, and there is a focus area, now I want to make sure I have this right. There's a focus area 3, about retaining, a qualified workforce. And so in thinking forward, is there a way, what the part of the problem is, I was able to go into the school system because I was enrolled in Notre Dame to get my teacher, to get my teaching hours. But once you graduate, postgraduate, you don't have that opportunity. Unless you're enrolled in a university or college, you're not allowed to come into the school systems to get your, teaching experience. And I'm just wondering if we can think along the lines of the blueprint and making sure we have community partners, because I'm thinking about our 3- and 4-year-olds. And what we're finding in the childcare community is we have folks who have finished their degrees, folks who have passed the praxis, but they still need their teaching experience. That wasn't wrapped into the requirements for graduation. And so I'm just wondering if we can imagine a time that maybe Baltimore County can set the precedence of allowing those who have completed their degrees to maybe during the in postgraduate that we might can loan our schools out so that people can come and get their teaching experience. So I'm just curious about that.
We can embed that response in our Grow Our Own program, but that's a big piece of hiring folks with conditional certification. So we help them to get that certification while they're working in our system. But we can provide a much more extensive response for you because and the blueprint is speaking around that, but also the additional paraprofessional and having that training. That's a big focus in what we're doing to make sure we are transitioning our staff and helping our staff to get those criteria, that qualification. So yeah, we can give a little bit more detail about where we are with that and our partnerships with the university, but definitely state board allow us all systems to hire more folks with conditional certifications. And so that was helpful, but we can provide a much more extensive response for you.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
I will say that, yes, the turn of phrase is grow our own. Grow your own has other implications. And so we're being careful with our new teachers that we're growing our own. I see 4 more questions. We're going to go through those. Hopefully we can move through them with some alacrity, but we have to make sure people get a chance to ask their questions. Delegate Mangione.
Sorry about that. The Zoom couldn't open it back up to the large screen there, but thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, Mr. Superintendent, for being here. I don't want to be repetitive, but I have also received a number of emails and concerns about the redistricting process, and some of them were answered, and I appreciate that. One of the concerns, of course, was also, as Delegate Nawrocki said, about the elementary schools not having say. And I guess my question would be, and I apologize if this was already answered, but I heard you discuss about how the public input process plays a role in that, which is good, and that'll help alleviate some concerns. But I guess if I missed it, I'm sorry if you can say it again, but if it wasn't answered, why, in fact, were the elementary schools left off in the first place is my question, if you can address that.
So
if you would address that again briefly, because that question has been asked. So just if you give him a quick rundown on that, I appreciate it, Dr. Williams.
Yeah, what we look at based on the policy and rule, we're looking at those families who are matriculating into the said area. And so I did not pull, so I apologize. I can pull up that rule and policy and provide you with a specific response to that.
Okay, yeah, we can do it all the record. I don't want to waste your time if you've already, but so it's the policy somewhere already that you're saying that elementary schools would not have a say in this process. I assume that was written.
Let me give you the specific language around the policy and rule so I don't misquote that, but we look at the committee to represent the different impacted areas, and then we also open it up to the public. And I think that was the earlier question about a week.
Yeah,
and so forth.
I guess
all of this of course will be presented to the board, and we will make a recommendation. However, the board will make the final decision as to what they want to happen.
Because I guess, okay, thank you for that. My concern would be, and the question also would be, how is, if possible, to change a rule like that for going forward, where obviously elementary school students are just as important as middle school students and their futures and the parents. So, I mean, it seems like something that should be looked into, how we go about giving them equal say in the process compared to a middle school when, like I said, I mean, their futures and the decisions made here affect the families of all of these students. So I don't know if you, yeah, thank you very much. We'll follow up. Thank you.
All right, and thank you. Delegate Bhandari.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I know the multiple questions were asked on this boundary changes, and thank you, CEO Dr. Williams, for ensuring that the final decision will be fair and consider the historical boundaries of the community. Just a comment.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Well, thank you. Okay, excellent. Delegate White.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair and Dr. Williams. Pleasure to see you. Thank you so much for being here with us this morning. I have two questions, but I'll give my one good question and I'll follow up offline. And this is regarding mental health. I know that you provided us a brief overview, but that's one area that I'm really interested in and passionate about. And so could you expound upon, what our schools are doing to address this need and even engagement with community providers? We know that mental and social and emotional well-being is really important for our students and educators and staff. And so could you share a little bit more about what we're doing in that area? Because that is a significant need that we're hearing a lot about.
Yes, thank you for that. During the actual closure, we knew we had to partner with our outside providers, and the partnerships have been extremely helpful. We continue that. Working with the county government and other agencies to partner with our schools. We've also, we are advocating additional counselors, social workers, psychologists through the budget process. We have been very good working with our county executive and county council that they've been funding to get us to that national average of 250 to 1 for counselor and student. Looking at more additional social workers, cluster models, pull in, plug in, additional support. So I'll give you that has been the focus, that we have to make sure our kids are ready to learn, and then looking at the actual teaching and learning that's happening in the classroom. We have expanded on our division of support when it comes to social emotional support. We provided MTSS. We're looking at restorative practice, but ultimately is having the experts, if you will, to be in schools and to really look at our operating budget to provide additional support. But definitely the partnership outside of the system, outside of the schools, have been helpful. And so we're seeing some progress, but we still have some ways to go to get to that national average and to get to additional social workers and psychologists supporting our students.
Thank you. I'll follow up about special ed offline. Thank you.
Okay.
Vice Chair Jackson.
Thanks, Mr. Chair, and good to see you, Dr. Williams. Just a quick question with regards to the cost of living adjustments. I've spoken to a lot of teachers who were concerned about getting COLA or not. Just wanted to know if you could speak to that.
So on Tuesday, we presented a response to our board. We have always wanted to focus on the people. And so what we presented to the board was, after careful looking and additional savings, that we were able to not only embed a step, but a COLA. And so we're still in negotiations with the unions, but that was presented Tuesday. We have been working nonstop with our unions. As you well know, I meet with them regularly, but we want to be competitive. And the other part of that package that was approved on Tuesday was looking at the starting salary, which is a little bit related to the blueprint. So we're trying to be aggressive to get us the starting salary at $59,000, where the blueprint says $60,000. So we want to be a year ahead, but right now we're still in negotiations, and the board received that well. So now we just have to continue to have conversations with our union.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. And I see that Delegate Phillips has slid his hand in. I didn't see it before. We'll take one final question. Delegate Phillips.
Thank you. And this may be a softball, but I really do want to understand this. Superintendent Williams, as you kind of transition, what are the 3 things that you think are most important for the next superintendent? And also, what are perhaps the top 1 or 2 things that us as legislators in Annapolis, you know how we work, that we should be advocating for on behalf of Baltimore County Public Schools?
So let me work backwards. So I think whatever support we can get around the funding and moving a little bit beyond just the enrollment. Delegate Phillips, I kind of presented my first budget was extremely aggressive, where it was really to show the needs. And I think in some of the questions that today came up around how we have triple our numbers of English language learners, our special ed services, and our students. I just think ways in which we're being funded by the county and state, that would be a priority, and going beyond just the numbers in some kind of way. I think the blueprint really speaks to that when it talks about supporting all students in one of the pillars. For the new superintendent coming in, I think a lot of what I will present is we have been really pushing on the academics, primarily making sure our staff members have the tools that they need to be successful and the capacity. So building that capacity, but also maintaining the safe and supportive environment. I think they go hand in hand. There's some other things. And so what I'm developing is, just kind of like my little laundry list, things that we have started to then turn over to the new superintendent. And a lot of it is around the academics. A lot of it is around building the capacity of our staff and having more access and opportunities for our students. I think those are just kind of like the top, but I have to throw in just the climate and culture. I'm pleased about the direction we're going. We're trying to get the new facilities. We've had a variety of buildings in our county, as you have noticed. I think utilizing the My iPass as a guide, so we know what schools are coming up next. Again, it's a process, but I think making sure our students and our staff have kind of like the 21st century learning environment. And then ultimately, I have to say, being very competitive with our compensation and our staff. I think this go around will speak to it. What we did for this year in terms of compensation, what we provided for this current year, and what we're trying to advocate for next year, I think will keep us competitive with some of these other systems, somewhat smaller than we are, but they have the resources, a little bit more resources, or maybe the checkbook is a little bit bigger in those other systems, counties. So I think those are the things I would just offer to your response, to your question.
Thank you. No, thank you. That was good.
Thank you. And so that was almost a solid 50 minutes. As a former high school teacher, that's a full class period of you being on point there. And I appreciate your ability to pivot to a number of different subjects. You did we always love to get the slide deck, and you could send it not to every one of us, but rather to the person, Justin, who has an email. Sure. He could share it out, but also the job fair. If you would also send us that, I think oftentimes you do that anyway. They come to us by mail a lot of times, but if we haven't got it yet, we'd love to have that so we could share that out to try to get more people working in Baltimore County. That would be a great thing. So, you can your folks can communicate with Justin. And see if we have that or not. That'd be great.
We'll follow up with those questions, written response.
Also, excellent.
Thank you, Chair.
If you send them, I'm going to ask you for your permission. I'm sure you'll say yes to share those responses broadly with the entire delegation, not just questioners.
Oh, yes.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Want to be sure. All right. Well, listen, you have you've done a yeoman's job of moving in a lot of different directions and answering a lot of different questions. We certainly appreciate you coming before us. You're welcome to stay online for the more interesting part, which is, I'm saying that with my tongue in my cheek, the less interesting part of the meeting to many people. But if not, if you have other important work doing, you may. Thank you so much for being here with us.
Thank you all. Thank you so much. Thank you for your support of our system and our county.
Okay, thank you. All right, so now we move on to the business. We have no new bill hearings today. We have 3 bills that are eligible for voting, and they come from 3 different committees. So we're going to start with HB 381. Which was taken up by the Education Subcommittee. And so I will turn to Chair Forbes on that one.
Thank you, Chair Ebersol. Good morning, everyone. The Education Subcommittee met this week and had a thorough and thoughtful discussion on HB 381, which is the burden of proof bill for due process proceedings with children with disabilities. The committee at this time is recommending that we hold the bill, both in deference to the statewide bill, We appreciate the sponsor bringing the bill because it clearly identifies a problem, but we had concerns that this bill was not a comprehensive fix. So our motion is to hold the bill.
The request of the committee is to hold the bill without objection. We'll do that. Seeing none, we will hold the bill for consideration for at the next delegation meeting. Thank you, Delegate Forbes, for that report.
Thank you.
We're going to move to a bill by the same sponsor, House Bill 1171. This was taken up in Public Safety Committee, and I go to Chair John Carden on that one.
Thank you, Delegate. We did have a robust discussion on this bill, lasted about a half an hour. And then subsequent to that, I will tell you that I can talk about the discussion, but Delegate Guyton did provide an amendment to me, which and requested that we consider the amendment in addition to the bill. So I'm going to take the opportunity to hold our recommendation or anything on the bill and try to reconvene ask you, Mr. Chair, if we can hold this for a week so that we can try and reconvene, consider the amendment, and then come back with a recommendation.
So similarly, this committee is also asking that we allow them to reconsider the bill because there are amendments that might change people's outlooks on it, or perhaps make the bill more palatable, or at least a better bill. And so without objection, I would like to hold this bill for a week also. Okay, I'm looking around, seeing no objection to that, we will move this bill for consideration at the next delegation meeting. And number 3, House Bill 1096, and this bill went to the Community Affairs, don't do it every time, Community Affairs Subcommittee, and the chair is Delegate Ruth.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And the Community Affairs Subcommittee met on House Bill,
1096.
1096. Thank you
you
so much. And the Baltimore County offered an amendment which would limit the properties to only those that are used by the fire station actively in their mission. The sponsor considered that a friendly amendment. The subcommittee voted to add the amendment, and we voted favorable with amendments. So the motion is, I guess I need to move first on the amendment. Is that correct?
Second.
Correct. So we have, she said she needed to move it, and I guess that was a motion because I've already heard a second. So there is an amendment before us that, if I understand it correctly, will limit the tax relief to only those parts of the volunteer fire stations that are being used expressly for things that are their mission of fire safety. I'm going to try for a voice vote on this one, or at least people holding up hands. I think since the county put forth this amendment and the sponsor is comfortable with it, all in favor of this amendment to this bill, signify by raising your hands or saying aye. And now we'll put hands. Anybody who is not in favor, put your little hand up in the corner.
Move the bill as amended.
Okay, so yeah, first I have to say the amendments are accepted. Now I'll take a motion. Delegate Shalega.
Second.
And I have a second. So the bill has moved and seconded. I sense a bipartisan swelling up here on this. And so I'm going to again allow for a voice vote or a hand vote. All in favor of this bill as amended, raise your hands or say aye.
Aye.
Okay. If there are any no's, I would like to see them on the screen right now. Put your little hand in the corner there. Seeing none, this bill will be forwarded to the appropriate committee with the favorable report by the delegation with the amended version. And that brings us to the end of business today. I appreciate, by the way, all of your questions, and the appropriateness of them with the superintendent. I thought they were good and varied, and I think pretty proud of the delegation today. So good work, everyone. And let's see, for the good of the order, I've got a for the good of the order. I do. Delegate Allen, I believe I have a for the good of the order with you. Do I not?
You do. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Earlier this week, I met along with a few other delegates with a number of young people, students from high schools, mostly in Anne Arundel County, but a few actually from the Parkville and Perry Hall area. They're here with the One Love Foundation, which some of you may or may not know was founded in honor and memory of Yardley Love, who was originally from Cockeysville. She was a University of Virginia student who was unfortunately murdered several years ago. The One Love Foundation specializes in educating students and young people about building healthy relationships, learning how to talk about unhealthy situations, abuse, mental health in general. They have a whole bunch of information they passed on to us. They really wanted us as delegates to kind of bring this back to our respective delegations, see what interest there is in this. And really their goal is to, kind of become, unofficially or officially incorporated into as many schools as possible. So our young people and our students are equipped to have these conversations and have this support network around them. So if anyone has any questions for me, or if you're interested in learning more about this, please reach out. And I'll be continuing to learn about it myself, but it seems like a really awesome organization and a really important mission. So thank you very much, Mr. Chair.
And very specific questions, probably offline, but I think general questions are good. And I see Delegate Guyton has her hand up.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, Delegate Allen, for bringing this. This is a program that's already being utilized in many of our schools. And so, I know at Hereford High School, they have a club and it's very, very active and wonderful. So I just hope that everyone will reach out, see if it's already in place, and I will certainly also help facilitate if necessary. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you.
Not a question, but an offer of help. Excellent. Anyone else with broad questions about the One Love, or if you, like I say, if you have specific questions, Delegate Allen's pretty easy to find, and you should talk to him about that. Anyone else? Anything else for the good of the order before we adjourn? Seeing nothing, you guys did a great job today. This is a good delegation. We work well together. I always brag to the folks who have Montgomery County and Virginia Georges County, the city, that we have to work together, and we do. So thank you all very much, and we'll see you on the floor soon.